if you look at the form of our flower, for example, Andre Pollard, his running game is okay, but his kicking, tactical kicking, has been poor this whole year. Now, the problem is, what do you do with a person like Patrick Lambie or Monesteen or Elton Yankees? Those guys have not had a chance to play for the national team. And if we find ourselves in a situation whereby we need to replace the Andre Pollard, we could be in a bit of trouble. For me, I think at fly-off we could have changed. At fullback, we could have played around a bit with Jesse Kriel at his preferred position where he's performed the best. There are a couple of changes I think that could have been done to the team, but all in all, we need to make those changes. We need to give the guys at least a run before the World Cup. Unfortunately, we've only got 2 games left before the tournament starts. But
you talk about changes. Just take us through those changes that you feel should have been made in this game. Because look, we only have 41 days before the start of the World Cup. Definitely.
For example, at hooker, we've got a guy like Skaran Tuben who's been part of that team part of the squad for the last 3 years. He's never played a single game. Now, if we find ourselves in a situation whereby one of our hookers gets injured, we're basically going to be asking Skaran Tuben to sit on the bench and maybe even replace Adrian Strauss or Bismarck Du Plessis. But he hasn't played for the Springboks. At lock, I'm happy with the locks. They've played outstandingly well. The loose forwards, they could have changed a bit. Sia coming in is nice. It's unfortunate that a guy like Kriel, for example, has not been brought into the squad. But for me, the loose forwards is also an interesting one because Henneke Meyer has gone back on his selection policy whereby he had big ball carriers as part of his loose trio, but he doesn't now. Sia's on the bench, but out of the 3 loose forwards, all of them are basically, all 3 are playing to the ball, and none of them are really big, heavy ball carriers. He's always talked about size being important, and none of those guys are really that big. At fly-off, I would have made a change. At scrum-off, I would have made a change. If you're going to play Andre Pollard, for example, why not play him with a guy like Rudy Page, who he seemed more comfortable playing with at Super Rugby level? So those are just some of the changes I would have made. But look, Henneke knows best. I suppose we need to trust in what he does. But I suppose we'll always have our opinions about the team.
I'm sure those players who didn't want to have you as their coach, he clearly would be playing with a new team altogether. But let's touch on the issue that you've raised. You've raised the issue of Siya Kolisi, Lwazi Mvovo, who've performed tremendously during the course of their past season. But they are yet to be given a chance, and which raised the questions about players of colour being given an opportunity to play in the Springboks. What's your view on that?
This team is a bit on... I can't find a correct word for it, but it's a bit on the wide side. If this team started in the World Cup, the people in Parliament, rightly so, would complain. There are enough black players in this country. And for me, you know, when you talk about transformation, it's not a matter of numbers in the team. It's all about saying there are 2 players, they're both on equal footing in terms of talent. Give them a chance. You look at the Stormers, for example. What the Stormers have done in giving everyone a chance, you see guys like Kobus van Wyk, the winger for the Stormers, given a chance. You hardly see white wingers these days, but the coach has faith in him. You see, for example, you look at the scenario with Siya Kolisi when he started. He replaced Skalkberger. In any other union in South Africa, you would have never been given that chance. Alistair Coetzee backed him and said, there's the jersey, go play for me, young man. That's what you need to do. That's what coaches need to understand, that whether a player is black or white, you need to trust their ability. And a rugby player wants that belief in themselves that you've got the ability to succeed at any level. There's a reason why you've been drafted into the team. It's because of your talent.
Let's talk about the return of the captain.
Yes.
Jean de Villiers out for 8 months. 8 months due to a knee injury. He comes in to play the first test match with 41 days to go before the World Cup. Should he be still part of this team?
It's his first official test match, but he's played about 3 or 4 games. The problem now with the Jean de Villiers scenario, if you go back in 1999 when Gary Tachman was captain, Nick Mallet chose not to include him in the squad. Then you found yourself, basically the soul of the team was taken out. Jean de Villiers has led this team. Henneke Meyer communicates his ideas through Jean de Villiers, who plays with the guys. They believe in him. As a leader, you sort of see that there's something missing when Jean is not there leading the guys. I think for me, it's not a bad thing to have him in the squad. Whether he deserves to start or not is another debate. But to have him in the squad purely from a leadership perspective, that voice, you've been hearing that same voice for 3-4 years. If that voice is fit enough to go to England, bring it along. Like I said, I don't think he's good enough to play to start at the moment. But in a squad like this, I think it's not a bad thing to have him in there.
Look, I've heard that argument before. I've heard guys raising that argument about the leadership. One of the reasons why we lost the match against Australia and All Blacks is that there was a lapse of concentration towards the end of those games. So the leadership issue always cropped up. But my thing is here, Jannie du Villiers is not a rookie himself. He's been around for quite a while. Wouldn't this be a good chance for us to actually take a step back and think, wouldn't this be a right time to actually maybe get Schalkberger to lead the team going forward?
But the very same Schalkberger was around when we lost those close games. This is the calming demeanor that certain leaders have. John Smith had the same calming demeanor with the previous team under Peter de Villiers. You need that voice. That voice for me is important. Gary Tachman, for example, when he played, he was not the best in his position. But as a leader, he had no equal. And a lot of players respond to what they say. For example, you look at the Australia game whereby we dominated, we led by 13 points. If you had a proper captain like Jean de Villiers, that person can basically calm the guys down and say, look, we're leading by 13 points, let's just add another 3 and make it 16. Don't worry about certain things, don't panic, calm down. Now, none of that was there. We saw that in the 2 games, which we should have won. We should have beaten the All Blacks at Ellis Park, we should have beaten Australia in Australia. We didn't because of leadership issues. And for me, it still hammers home the point that the leader cannot be taken out at this crucial stage.
Thando, thanks a lot for your time. We're sure going to have lots of chats as the build-up towards the upcoming World Cup.